Hi guys, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you how to go from this to this and how you can color your drawings in Photoshop. Here are some other examples of artworks I've made using this technique. It works best for black and white drawings which you've made perhaps using a graphite pencil or ink pens. So go ahead and scan your drawing or take a picture of it, import it into Photoshop, and we'll jump in. When we first import an image into Photoshop, it shows up as a smart object, which is what this little box means. We need to right-click on this and choose Rasterize Layer. This will allow us to proceed with the editing. Next, we need to come over to Adjustments. If you don't see this panel, come up to Windows and select Adjustments. Make sure it's ticked. Next, we need to come over to Hue and Saturation and bring saturation all the way down. The reason why we need to do this is because when we go to scan or take a picture of our drawing, there's usually a tint to the light around it. It's usually a little bit yellow or blue, and we don't want that interacting with the colors we're going to apply. So that's why we need to desaturate the drawing. Okay, now let's come over to curves. And we need to make sort of like an S shape. This allows us to make the whites whiter and the blacks blacker, creating more of a contrast. Selecting my artwork layer, I'm going to type E on my keyboard to bring up the eraser tool and go around the artwork to just erase any excess drawings that I don't need. I'd like to focus on the ice cream, and this will actually help me level out the whites and the darks in my drawing, because now I can see the background and how white the background is. You can see as I start to adjust things, the white in my drawing starts to blend with the background. Having said that, we don't want to take this too far because then we'll lose a lot of the detail in the drawing. So we want to find a nice middle ground, not too light and not too dark. Right, so I'm going to hold down Shift and select all of these layers, type Command E to merge them. If you're on a Microsoft, it's Control E instead. I just want to keep things nice and tidy here so you guys can see which layer is which. Looking at my ice cream drawing right now, I can see that the bottom part, the cone part of it, is a little bit darker than I want it to be. I'd like to lighten it a little bit. So I'm going to come over to my lasso tool, select it, and draw around the cone. With that selection active, when I come back to curves and make my adjustments here, you can see that it's only that section that gets lighter. And again, I want to lighten it without losing too much detail. And when I'm done, I'm going to hold down Shift, select both layers, Command E or Control E to merge. Next, what I'd like to do is to cut the ice cream out of its background. And to do that, I'm going to type E on my keyboard to bring up the eraser tool and just go around it as close to the edge as possible and erase any excess. And just so I can see what I'm doing, I'd like to give my background some color. I think I'm going to select a nice pistachio green and carry on with the erasing until I get as close to the edge as possible. And now I'm going to select my lasso tool again, and I just want to get you to see this, my feather setting. I have it set to 0.5 pixels, and it's that half a pixel that creates a softening at the edge of where I'm cutting my object out of its background. If I show you what happens when I have it set to 0, so there's no feathering at all, when I make a cut, it looks really sharp, like I've cut it out with scissors. But when we have just a little bit of a feathering going on, it just looks that little bit softer and Just helps create a more professional finish, I guess. So while I'm doing this, I'm just gonna tell you guys, if you know someone who would benefit from this tutorial, please feel free to share. My channel is still very new, and every like, follow, subscribe, comment is really appreciated. Okay, so I'm going section by section, selecting areas of the background using my lasso tool, then using delete button to remove that section, and Command D to deselect. Our artwork is finally looking like it's ready to be colored. And now I'm going to come up here into blending mode and select multiply. What this does is it makes all the white pixels transparent. So now we just have the outline of the drawing. If I go back to normal, you can see that it's still there, but multiply allows us to see the layers underneath. So I'm going to come up down here, click this button plus, and make a new layer. And we're going to have a new layer for each color. And the rest is basically just coloring in the lines. So let's find color for vanilla ice cream. Once the color is selected, I'm going to type B to select brush, choose a hard round brush, ensure I'm on the right layer, and just start coloring in. And remember, you can adjust the size of your brush by typing the right or left square bracket on your keyboard. Once I've covered most of my color and come up right up to the edges, I start to get worried about going over the lines. To help myself, I'm going to select the layer of where I have the ice cream drawing, hold down Command key and click on the square part of the layer. This will activate a selection all around the ice cream. With that selection activated, I can come back down to where I have the color layer, and now I can complete the coloring and not worry about going over the lines, because my brush will only color within that selection. I know it sounds like a lot of information, but hopefully you can see me do it, and it's actually quite easy and makes your job a lot quicker. Looking at my ice cream now, I decided to try out other colors for the ice cream. To do that, you just type G on the keyboard, which brings up the color fill bucket tool, and select the color you prefer and just click where you want to apply it. Okay, time to repeat the process for the cone. We're going to make a new layer. Remember, new color, new layer. And we're going to repeat the same steps, applying color with our brush until the cone is fully colored. So technically we could leave it here, but there are still a couple more things I want to show you. So let's make a new clean layer over the top of everything, and I'll call it detail. I'm going to select my brush tool and come up here and choose the soft round pressure opacity brush. This brush responds to pressure I apply on my Wacom tablet and is really great for adding these little highlights and other details to your artwork. Depending how much time you have to invest here, you can create some incredible artworks this way. The good thing about using a brush like this is that it's slightly transparent, and it allows you to build the intensity of color gradually. Last but not least, I'm kind of thinking that the background color isn't really working that well. So I'm coming over to the background layer. I'm going to select a different color and fill it with the bucket tool. There, I think this looks much better and makes the other colors pop. Thanks for watching, you guys. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. See you next time.